Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Indie Game Business. I'm Indy, and that gentleman next to me is Jay Powell from Powell Group Consulting. And I switched it up so much that it screwed me up there. We've got Yves Le Yaouanq, and we're talking about the state of pitching in 2025. And this is going to be a really, really good cast with a bunch of information. And you definitely want to tune in. And if you know anybody that needs to know about this, just share this and share it over every social platform that you got, even X.
Okay. We don't have an X thing anymore. You know that, right?
Well, it does exist. It's just private.
Okay.
Whatever.
All right. I'm starting off with an apology this morning. One that I have given to Yves multiple times over the last 3 months. So for those of you who may not know Yves, he is one of the most prolific question answerers and most engaged publishers on the Discord, to the point that we were in Sweden a few years ago and a bunch of us were going to dinner and he was standing by the hotel door texting on his phone, and I yelled over him to hurry up and get off his phone. And he said, I would, but I'm answering a question on your bleep Discord. And so I was like, oh, okay, yeah, take your time. But then, just because he's so engaged, in my mind, we had him on the show before. And so I never asked him. So this year we were in Sweden again, and I said, hey, when can we get you on the show? And he looked at me and he said, I thought you'd never ask. I was a little, offended that you'd never asked me. And I was like, holy shit. So I've literally been apologizing to him for 6 months. And this is the public one. Sorry, Yves. My bad. Let's start at our favorite place then. Tell us how you got into the industry and walk us through your illustrious career.
First of all, thank you for having me, and hello everyone. Illustrious, I don't know, but I started like a bit more than between 25 and 30 years ago. Initially started more in the movie industry, animation, etc. And then at the same time, I started working on meds, it was work, but unpaid work on meds, multi dungeons, mid-90s. So they were the ancestors of what would become MMORPG games when very first ages of internet. And for a few years getting unpaid, and then some of my friends from Meds transitioned to EverQuest, to what's going to be the MMORPG industry, but I stayed working on the movie and animation industry, and then fully transitioned at the turn of the 20th to finally getting paid in the games industry after a few years. That's how I entered.
So what have you done up to this point? What are you doing now at Focus?
Still no idea. But no, after finally getting a first paycheck on an MMORPG, French MMORPG called Rhythm, which is still live 25 years ago. Since 25 years now, I worked in MMORPGs, so Codemasters, Cryptic, Nevrax, on Champions Online, Star Trek Online. A lot of online things up till joining Ubisoft in 2010 to help Ubisoft grow and continue growing on the online games. So worked on Settlers Online, Imagine Town Online, an MMO for girls, up till Rainbow Six Siege, Ghost Recon Wildland, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, The Division 1 and 2, everything that has live, Assassin's Creed, of course, the one that had live. Leaving Ubisoft in 21 and joining Focus in 21 to help on the portfolio and game signing, publishing, and studio acquisition as well. In a very short summarized.
But you've been doing this a long time, like me, and we all still look around and go, we don't really know what we're doing.
You have some hints like the white beard.
Oh, I got you beat though. Found out this week I have to have a hearing aid. So, I'm officially older than everybody else now. Let's start with, before we get into like how to pitch and what the developers need to be doing, let's talk about the state of the industry from a publisher's perspective, because we had the gigantic boom during the pandemic, and then it's been going downhill in recovery mode, and we keep all looking at each other going, it'll be better next year. And it's not. So from the publisher standpoint, tell us how the give us that angle on the state of the industry right now.
Before jumping to the publisher point of view, maybe the veteran or the old guy point of view, that first, it's not the first crisis that we had in the game industry. So not panic, don't panic. And I guess it's the same for you, Jay, but we've known game industry in 2002, 2003, 2008, 2012, etc., where uh, we're all gonna die. PC is dead. When I joined one company a long time ago, my expertise was on PC, and everyone told me, I'm sorry, PC is dead. So you're not going to find job anymore, etc. It was 20 years ago. So it's not the first crisis, and every time the industry overcame and then grew bigger and bigger and bigger. Right now, it's less a crisis than going back to normal post-COVID. That's one thing. And second thing is there was a lot of, due to COVID and overgrowth, there was a lot of over financiarization. So a lot of acquisition, a lot of money thrown everywhere, etc. So now it's more getting back to normal. So again, don't panic. And from a publishing perspective, to answer your question, things are getting, since end of last year and early this year, things are getting much, much more better from a lot of publishers, not only Focus, but a lot of publishers. People are going to sign back again. Some publishers, last year, some publishers shut down, but we are seeing new publishers with veterans, with more financial stability, with means to sign games. So yeah, 25 is indeed on the recovery path and on a positive note.
So, without getting into like specific budget details or anything, a couple of months ago, Devolver released their earnings, whatever their public report is, because they're publicly traded, and it showed over the last 3 or 4 years how they have gone from average funding per game being 3 million plus to being 2 million to being almost 1 million. I think it's like 1.1 or something. This year, have you seen that trend? I mean, has Focus lowered down? Have you seen any other publishers as well just start lowering what they're willing to invest in a game?
On Focus is kind of specific. We're kind of like at the opposite of the rest of the industry. We're chaining up Focus best years in the last 3 years. 3 years ago, it was Focus best year in history, and then 2 years ago, it was even better than last year. And last year, with Space Marines, with Void Crew, etc., it was even better, etc. So we're kind of the swimming on the opposites. So for us, it's like the golden years. So we didn't shrink down. We didn't increase neither. We didn't want to reach out and becoming like a triple A open world, free to play, battle royale, metaverse, NFT, whatever. So we staying on what we know how to do with our team's expertise and with the studios we love how to work with. So indie, triple I, indie games, double A. So we're staying within our space, which allow, and with good years, it allows us also to support multiple games and sometimes welcome games that are that had publishers before, which publisher disappeared, etc. So on our end, we kind of like a counter example. But yes, some publishers, some other publishers shrink down to roughly what you were saying, 1 million, 1.2, 1.5, while before that they were doing 3, 5, X, etc. But now these same publishers are had some successes recently. Let's say Kepler, for example, Kepler with Expedition 33, Clair Obscur, and the recent anticipated success of a rematch, reopening the gate and re-increasing, not like going triple A or doing 100 million game budget, but yeah, basically what the last years have told everyone. On one hand, negative side, the over financialization. Don't expect X50 multiple revenue by just putting anything on Steam, but more focusing on games, uniqueness, quality, innovation, great gameplay, etc. And that's paid off from Balatro to Expedition 33 to Blueprints to a lot of these games that are really unique and that was the example. That were the example that showed that, yeah, if you do great games with a great support from great publishers, you will end up in the top. Initially, a few years ago, that's again on a positive note. Initially, a few years ago, the successful indie games were among the top 100 of Steam, and then among the top 50 of Steam, then among the top 20 of Steam. So climbing up the ladder, and these unique, both in art, gameplay, etc., games, showcase that and explain to publishers that, yeah, if you make great unique game, then it's worth spending a bit more, and make unique game that's gonna be hit at launch, but also bring hits on the back catalog as well for years, which will bring stability to publishers and hence help as well the rest of the industry.
So would it be fair to say that this golden age of focus started roughly in, say, I don't know, 2021 when you came in? Is this?
No, 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 it's not. No, no, no. I'm just continuing the trend that was started before with people who signed Plectel before I joined. So I'm not responsible for any of the success of Plectel. It's Azobo and Focus Team at the time. Um, yep, it
See,
started before my time.
this is how nice he is. It's like I'm trying to put him up on a pedestal here, and he won't even let me do that. So,
And also, not only were people before, but also I'm not alone. I have a team.
on the wait, I'm sorry, I lost you there.
I'm not alone doing things. I have a
Oh,
team.
yes, I know.
So, and any success, it's not only just myself; it's a team.
I'm just trying to boost your day and make your Friday a little better. That's all. It's all good.
Thank you.
So, given the state of the industry right now, what are some of the changes that you've seen or that you would recommend in how developers are pitching to you or to other publishers for that matter?
The one important thing is the two keywords would be identity and maturity. Identity in is in the content, the visual, the vision of your game. It's not just let's do whatever kind of game, or puzzle platforming is trending, or Balatro is trending, or survivors like are trending. So let's do that, and etc. You might end up releasing a game, signing a publishing deal, having a bit of money, etc. But to make groundbreaking games, you need to have a vision, and that's what all the successes. Speaking a bit of a focus game like Chant of Senor, they had a vision. That's really what made us sign the game. Expedition 33, which we wanted to sign, absolutely, but Kepler got in the end, and I'm happy for them, very sad for us. Still, they had the vision, and I can testify in 2021, I played a very early prototype of Expedition 33. The game was there. They had a vision, they had everything. And it was a small team, there was three at the time, and everything was there. So that's the identity part. And the maturity part is uh, people need to better understand what the game industry is, what publisher is, what VC venture capital are, what platforms, what are the economics and finance of games. Part of the balance of power between studios, developers, and publishers shifted a lot compared to 10 years or 15 years ago, where basically publishers were telling the law. You didn't have a chance to get the IP. You were like mostly as a studio doing work for hire for publishers. Here, the balance of power is much more balanced. Uh, but it also means that studios need to be much more mature and better understanding what the game industry is. So, with to quote a great philosopher, with greater powers come greater responsibilities. So, if you want better balance and better equilibrium with publishers, it also needs that you to do it more homework. So, yeah, identity and maturity.
So, are we still in a situation where most developers are going to need to get to at least a playable or a demo stage, or is there any situation where a paper pitch is going to work right now?
That's true. That's one of the big changes in the recent years. A few years ago, games could get signed just on paper, just on pitch decks. Now it's become more and more extremely rare. And which is also true is that then switching from pitch deck stage for signature to early prototype, red blocks, kind of ugly, etc. And now it's prototype plus beauty corner to demonstrate your vision for the art style and the visual, and then transition to vertical slice. And then some publishers are asking for a game being almost finished. The good thing about that is that, of course, the rev share, since the publisher coming late, would be much more in favor of the developer. But the thing is that now the developer needs to find a lot more money to be able to bring vertical slice and later on to discuss with publishers. But it's true that there are less and less. One of the reasons is that in 2020, around the COVID time, a lot of like veterans and seniors from, well, including myself, from big AAA company did spawn-offs and created new studios, etc. So a lot of studios were created by veterans and seniors with pretty high salaries and wages, so very costly games, including small scoped content, small scoped games, etc., that were costing quite a lot. And in the end, some didn't work out because it's not because you put a lot of graybeards and veterans in a room that you're going to have a team dynamic. Very often, and it's become more and more known among publishers, a team of first timers, young students that are 18, 20, 22, etc., but that work together at school, that did game jams together, etc., they have more years together working as a team dynamic than veterans with 20 or 30 years of experience from everywhere, but that never worked together. Plus the ego question of like putting a lot of veterans together in a room. So the result of failing veteran studios kind of like uh, dropped the created more risk adverse position or from publishers. There is less risk. The mix of financialization, so huge expectation from revenues, etc., plus failing veterans and failing AAA games created some form of risk adverse in the publisher side.
So when developers do come to you and they're like, okay, here's the game, we want Focus to publish this, what specifically are you looking for in a good pitch?
The first thing, and it's back to doing your homework. First thing is that a game that would fit our portfolio? Because a bit of stat here, we receive between 3,000 and 4,000 roughly pitch decks through all the different sources in 1 year. Like the vast majority of them are games that are totally out of what we're doing. Uh, Mobile games, we don't do mobile. NFT, we don't do NFT. Free to play, games like that. Pixel art games, we don't do pixel art games, etc. So the vast majority of these games is just people that, and I can understand that are trying the luck. So they say, okay, they're not doing that, but maybe for me they're going to do that. It can happen. Like for example, if you take Chant of Senora, if you take Dordogne, etc., it's not like an obvious 100% fit from the start with Focus, but there is something unique, and so that sometimes it's worth trying out. But it's when it's platform based or business model based, like free to play, NFT, mobile, we don't do that. So we would gain a lot of time first if developers checked what we're doing. What we are doing, what the Devolver, PlayStack, Team 17 are doing. So that's the first thing to do is checking what the publisher is doing.
So I remember the minute you said that, how many games y'all look at a year. I remember you had that slide in your deck when we were up at. So dive into that real quick, and let people know. Let's just go down to what is the percentage that you sign out of that 3,000? So you get those in, say what, 3/4 of them are not a fit for Focus at
Yeah.
all. And then, so we're down to what? Let's just say it was 4,000, so we can make the math easier. You still got 1,000 games.
Yeah. Among these, some could fit on paper, but the delivery is not good, or the maturity of the team, or it doesn't have any strong identity, or the art style is not really what we're doing. For example, there could be really great games, but they're more leaning into casual or kids, etc., which we're not doing majority. So these are games that could have been assigned by Focus, but for multiple reasons, they're like just the second wave of, yeah, it doesn't really fit for art, for interest, uniqueness, identity, etc. Then, so we're probably back to 500 or 300 at this stage. Then for the 300, it's more okay. Let's have a call. Let's test a build. Let's have a meeting, etc. And then sometimes the human fit, it's extremely important from both ends, meaning publishers, it's people that you're going to be work for years, and that probably will end up working on your game longer than you, because your game is released, there is no post launch, so you started working on a second game, third game, etc. The publisher is going to work on your first game still for years, doing sales, sending to events, doing bundles, trying to do deals with Epic, Game Pass, whatever, etc. for years, when you're already transitioned to another game. So the human touch is something that really works both way. For, of course, meaning developer and publisher should like get along really nice. But also sometimes it's the game is great, but we don't see ourselves working with these people for years, or can work the opposite as well. The game is kind of cool, something is missing, but the team looks so great, so we're going to do the extra step due to the human touch and the way people behave, etc., and the team dynamic between them. So it works both on the negative side and the positive side. Sometimes we're going to do the extra step to see, we would love to work with these people.
So do you do, I mean, back in the day, we used to do a lot of in-house visits where we go to the developers headquarters and sit down and talk to everybody. But of course now so many people are, remote as well. Is that still one of the steps that you're doing?
The main step is kind of, so of course we do visits and due diligence, but before signing, generally we have the studio coming and visiting us, so
Oh,
having due diligence at our offices. And I think except for one studio that was very extremely far away, so it was very costly for them to come before signing. But every time we sign a game, they have come to visit us. And
that's
so
even better.
they see the team they're going to work with. They see our marketing team, PR, community, influencers, production, data, playtests, trailer team, etc. So they directly see the people. They see the moods, how it works at Focus. They can ask a lot of questions, and we do presentation. So our marketing team, our influencer team, etc. They do a presentation like pitching. This is what we're doing as a marketing experts, brands, influencers, etc. And they can ask questions directly and facing the people. So it's kind of like a reverse due diligence.
That's why your deck was so crisp and clear and concise, in Sweden's, because you've used it before. Do,
No, actually, the one in Sweden, that was the first time I ever did it.
ah, so what do you feel are the biggest missteps and the biggest mistakes that teams make when they come to you or to other publishers?
Well, the first I already mentioned is like not addressing to the right publisher, or still happening, like sending an email with like 200 publishers as in your destinatory of the email, and
Oh
everyone
my
can see each
God.
other, etc. So it still happens. It's fun, especially when you have dear Jay. I really love what Focus has done on Balatro. And so you have the first name wrong, you have the company wrong, you have the game wrong, etc. So of course it's a minority, but it still happens. Uh, then within a pitch deck is there are some minor mistakes like structuring, missing information, etc. So these ones are easy because we can ask, and oh, we would need to have that more. Can you tell us more on this aspect? But the kind of, again, back to maturity, the kind of thing that kills it a bit is getting wrong on the financial. Uh, First, it's not your job, and it's not expected to be your job. So we don't expect you to do a full detailed P&L with everything, with the publishing costs, with the marketing, etc. That's on us. But at least understanding the basic economics of a game. So if your game is sold 20 euros and you're going to sell 1 million copies, don't put, oh, yeah, we're going to have 20 million revenue, because it means you don't understand the platform cuts, VAT, the returns, the COGS, the recoups, the price agility, because not 100% of your players are gonna pay your game at 100% of the price. You don't understand the currency conversion. I mean, if you are in Turkey or in Argentina, you're not going to pay the same price as in States or in France. Uh, so it's better not to put everything, or not to, yeah, if you don't know, you don't know, and not knowing is fine, but showcasing that you don't understand the game dynamic is a major mistake in a pitch deck. And second thing is the benchmark and competition mapping. True anecdote, there was like, it was 4 years ago, one pitch deck where it was like, our game has melee combat. Elden Ring, I think it was, yeah, Elden Ring, or maybe it was Bloodborne, has melee combat. They sold 20 million, so we're going to sell 20 million. And that's like, no, it's not possible. The, 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 on the contrary, having a really good benchmark and competition mapping is a really great sign. It's this slide, like competition and mapping and benchmark, is the one slide where the majority of studio fails in a pitch deck. So it's not a red flag and blocker if you fail on on the slides. No one's going to sign you. But the opposite is true as well. If you succeed on this slide, that's greatly mean a lot of maturity, a lot of understanding of the market, who you're facing with, etc. So that's extremely rare as a good slide, but that's a really good sign for a publisher. Basically, what we expect is having compare what is comparable. If you're an indie studio, don't compare yourself with a triple A with 200 million budget. Don't compare yourself with a brand and an IP existing for 30 years, and that's done 10 games already on the IP. Don't compare yourself with things that aren't comparable, or with games from 20 years ago. Compare yourself. Generally, the best thing is having very similar profile. Like if you're indie game doing a, I don't know, puzzle platformer with a specific art style, then have indie game puzzle platformer specific art style with no existing IP, etc. And ideally with an example of something that worked, a game that worked really well, a game that worked on average. That should be basically the average case potential of your game, and a game that didn't succeed. Not to point a finger at them, but then you can rebound and say, okay, we think they didn't perform because they were lacking that. They didn't have this killer feature that we have, etc. So that you can compare and say, that's how we're going to avoid doing having the same result of this one that didn't perform.
That's an interesting point that I hadn't thought of in the past. Not only show what you're similar to successfully, but show games that didn't perform like they should have, and explain why. How important is post-launch content to any of this in the pitching? Do they need to have a 3 to 6 month plan? Is it if it is a live ops game, is that a plus or a minus? How far in advance do they need to plan their development cycles?
So there are two things here. The first thing is 3 months after launch. It's not really post-launch, but it's a thing that should be part of your budget, that should be anticipated, etc. So that in case your game is a slow performer, meaning it sells over time, but the day one launch is not going to be like a massive financial success. It's going to come over time. And then if you have 100% recoup from the publisher, a lot of money spent directly from the publisher that's going to expect 100% recoup, it means you're not going to have money again at the launch of your game. But at the same time, contractually, legally, you are supposed to deliver a game under good quality with debug, polish, etc. So contractually, you have to keep providing work after the launch to debug the game, etc. So that's why you need to also plan that specific form of post-launch, being able to budget and to keep your team at least 1 to 3 months after launch to be able to be paid because it's part of the budget to do what you're legally contractually obligated to do, polish, debug, QA, etc. Then second thing is more like content post-launch. Not every game needs to have post-launch content. For there are games that rely on systemic replayability, like games like RimWorld. They didn't have post-launch content for many years, or Factorio, or games like that. So if your game is fully replayable directly by its systems, you don't need to have post-launch. So it's not necessarily mandatory, including for publishers, to have post-launch. If you have post-launch and that fits your game, then that's clearly a plus. But it needs to be tailored, realistic as well. So not delivering a big expansion every 3 months because it's not production-wise, it's not realistic. And also your teams need to have a bit of time off also, and not to be like constantly crushing and crunching. And crunching is bad anyhow, but if you do crunching towards launch and then afterwards you have an extremely aggressive post-launch timeline, then your team is going to crumble. So take into account also realistic post-launch timeline in the delivery, etc., and relying on other expertises, meaning it's not only maintaining and entertaining your community, it's not only creating content, but it's also live content through community management, through live events, through other stuff. So you can balance different types of content you create and the different kind of expertise you have. Community management can also leverage your game designers and back and forth. So that's not everyone is crunching post-launch as well.
So, question from YouTube, Mandisa, how do we account for significant uniques or USP differences from comparable indies?
Trying to be sure to understand the question. Well, if you need to be somehow unique, well, USP. You need to be somehow unique. It can be through art. It can be it can be through the camera. For example, let's take. I was talking about Factorio. This kind of automation, etc. It's kind of what Factorio invented, etc. But just switching the view from top down to first person, etc. Basically, Satisfactory didn't invent much, but just changing the camera, the 3Cs can do a great stuff, even if your game mechanics, gameplay are exactly the same, or the art style, or the tone and humor, like a CRPG game, etc. But it's from a Marxist perspective with a hand painting and almost no combat. That's Disco Elysium. It's in terms purely of RPG and systems. It's not well. I was going to say it's not revolutionary, but no, the thought cabinet is already also very different. But you need to be able to find uniqueness in your vision. And sometimes it's also fine to say we don't have anything unique. It's just like within the genre, there hasn't been a game since a while, so something is lacking. We're not gonna revolutionize the industry, etc. But we think this kind of games is lacking since a few years. So nothing revolutionary. Our USP is just being there on the right time because there hasn't been a game. But there are multiple ways to be unique. I don't know if that answer the question, Mandisa.
So that brings up a good point too, because I saw this somewhere else recently. Folks talking about it's next to impossible to have something truly unique in a game anymore, and they're not completely wrong. But one of the arguments was you don't necessarily have to be if you are improving upon another game that was successful. And so that's I don't think that's something
Yeah.
we were called out on the show before, but that's actually a good way of handling it. And you've got a fan.
Ah,
From YouTube as well. I'm running an external art development studio, but things have been slow lately. Any tips to attract more clients and grow the business? So that's another thing. How do service providers, especially in the market right now, how do they approach publishers?
I think it's so. I think it's right now the crossroad. So I'm not the expert on service provider because I'm really into original games and IPs and studios. But from my understanding, from talking with service providers and with studios and with our teams here that works with service provider, is that it's kind of at a crossroads. Some to decrease the game budget. Sometimes people are more and more using. If we saw that, for example, I was mentioning Expedition 33, they used the South Korean studio to help them on animation, character design, etc. Which, like a few years ago, in this kind of project was fully internalized. So it's kind of at a crossroad where we probably see more and more different parts of games that will be externalized that weren't before. The thing is that at the same time, there's a huge competition between, and especially people using me to match at Gamescom or GDC. I can testify. There's a huge competition between multiple outsourcing, co-dev, external provider, etc. So it's really difficult to stand out. I would say it's probably even more difficult to stand out for service provider than for original IP studios because there's a game, there's a project, there's a vision that we can rely on. But for service provider, I'm not the expert there, but I would say basically you need to stand out as well as the original IP and have to do to promote their game and project. But since I'm not the decisionary and main point of contact for external partners, I probably wouldn't have the right answer or crystal ball on how to stand out as a service provider.
It's hard to stand out because I get these emails too, folks wanting to know if the Humble brand needs any help on their side. What I'll say to add to that is you have to expand your search. It is ridiculously hard to stand out. And most established publishers have a short list of people that they've used in the past, they're familiar with, they know, they're comfortable with. So step one is actually getting on that short list. But expand who you're going to. Don't just go to publishers, go to a lot of the larger and mid-sized developers who are self-publishing. Because we saw this last week during the summer live thing out in LA where Jeff Keighley got up and made the comment that was it Bellato or one of the games. He said it was developed by no, it wasn't Bellato, it was something else very recently. And he's like, it was developed by a team of under 30 people, and it wasn't. It was a whole bunch of contractors. The core company had less than 30 people, but that's not everybody that worked on the project. So expand out from just the publisher side and go talk to a bunch of developers. But other than that, it's literally just volume and trying, because it's hard to stand out completely. Mandisa clarifies it actually turns into another good question. So, was wondering how to estimate your outcome, so your sales based off of comparables in your different, with your USPs or any other reason. How do
Yeah.
developers estimate their sales?
Again, it's related to competition mapping and benchmark. So the more you have similar games, the easier it is to properly compare. Getting rid of pre-existing huge IPs, getting rid of multi-hundred millions AAA comparative, etc. So the more similar they are, the more you can pinpoint what are your differentiator with them. So it goes like both horizontally and vertically. Horizontally is so you compare game A with game B with game C, etc. What do they have in common? What are the differentiator, etc. And then you can do a bit of math there. This one sold 200K, this one sold 2 million, this one sold 20K. What are content-wise the gameplay, the things, the art, is the game good, but was just the marketing not performing, or were they just releasing a heist car game at the same day of GTA 6? So maybe a great game, great marketing, but no visibility. So trying to better understand why game A performed, game B, game C, etc. And then also vertically, you need to be sure that you master the basis of the genre. So it's like you're building up your house, you have the cement, you have the ground, you have the floor, etc. Do we have at least the same mandatory bricks of the genre we're aiming at? Then do we have an innovation, like improvement, not innovation, to have an improvement? Are we improving? Like, let's take, because I'm coming from MMORPG 25 years ago. Let's take EverQuest, which is one of the most brilliant game and team at the time. They kind of invented the MMO with content, with a lot of stuff, etc. But when you had to travel 200 kilometers to get back to your corpse, or be friend with a mage to get back to your corpse and your belonging, a lot of stuff in terms of grinding, in terms of usability, in terms of user friendly, where could could be handled by very fast adopters of video games and internet, but if you wanted to expand to larger audience, it was not possible. But then Blizzard came along with World of Warcraft. They didn't invent anything, but in terms of UI, in terms of user friendliness, in terms of onboarding, in terms of everything. So they didn't invent, but they refined, improved, and made it much more accessible. So maybe it's making something like, again, except the camera thing, again, Factorio, the art style, the art direction versus Satisfactory, of course, with a big change of camera, but also in terms of how you can appeal to a larger audience. Or taking a very different game genre, but Battle Brothers and War Tales from Shiro. Sometimes it's kind of the same gameplay, but you have better visuals, improved etc., improved usability, UI, UX. So you need to do the groundwork of why did game A perform, why did game B didn't perform, etc. And then based on each of these results, plus the context and the timeline. Again, because sometimes it's just like you're facing GTA, you're facing Disco Elysium, you're facing something else that's out of your reach. For example, the game behind me, Mio Memories in Orbit, that's going to release in a few months. It's a wonderful team and an incredible Metroidvania game, but 2025 there might be another big Metroidvania game releasing. So if we're facing this big Metroidvania game, then the fate of the game might be pretty different.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that other one's been delayed for like what, 15 years or something like that. So they might go another year. You might be okay. I mean, all right, I'm going to jump off the regular bandwagon. Personal question. We're talking about innovation. What is the most innovative game that you've seen in the last 2 years? That thing that you just did not expect seeing, came out of nowhere and was like, wow, this was different.
I'm guessing it's a game that has been publicly announced, probably, because I wouldn't want to breach any NDA. No, there's one thing. The game has been announced. It's not been announced what it is, etc. But back on the very earliness of the very first start of the stream, sometimes veterans also do wonders, and so we see like 3-4K pitches per year. I've been doing that for multiple years, but 3 or 4 years ago, we saw a pitch deck from Warren Spector. And so Warren Spector, Epic Mickey, Deus Ex, System Shock, etc. Incredible track record, incredible experience, etc. And you would expect for people that age and that experience to kind of always do the same, or to keep doing what they're doing. And his team and his pitch deck was like young in spirits. I mean, it was really innovative in terms of how the art style, which was really unique, the world building, and the gameplay. The gameplay was kind of uh, okay, interesting, etc. Nothing groundbreaking, but all that wrapped in incredible world building and art style. So that's probably one of, and extremely great benchmark competition mapping why this game was made. And there is one USP on this project, but since the project only has been teased, that's not my place to mention their USP, but they have one. And so that's probably one of the best pitch I ever saw in my life. And it's really fun to see it done by Warren Spector. And at some point, for the anecdote, during the call, we said, oh, that is really great. That idea that you have in the pitch deck is incredible. And Warren Spector said, "Oh no, it's not me. I was against it, but it's someone young in my team who had this idea, and she was right, and she convinced me." And that kind of humility, I think, it's one of the fuel of sustainability in the game industry. If you can put your team, and if you can not do the ego trip and work, and having Warren Spector say, "Oh no, I was wrong. My young team was right." That's also helped on the quality of the pitch deck. So it's not like the most groundbreaking, innovative, but that's one of the best pitch deck I ever saw. And the most innovative, I would need to think this through, honestly. No, yeah, Disco Elysium, definitely Disco Elysium. You muted Jay. Jay, or maybe just me.
No, I was muted.
Okay.
That was because my phone started ringing in the middle of the, ironically, to set up my hearing aid appointment. So timeline for reviewing. So for years we said it was about 3 months, and then after the pandemic, we said, okay, it's going to take 4 months in general before, from the time you send the pitch to the publisher to the time you're actually signing a deal. We saw recently, there are other publishers that are saying, hey, it could be 6 to 9 months. So what are you seeing, either at Focus or with other publishers as well, as the average time it takes to review and respond to a pitch and get a deal done?
Oh, it's two different questions. First, review and respond to a pitch deck can be pretty fast if it's totally unaligned with what you're doing, with what the publisher is doing. First thing, and then second thing, it's also context depending. If you're sending a pitch deck to any kind of publisher during GDC or Gamescom or etc., then you can definitely expect at least 1 month before just getting a sign of life, because that's the period of time where publishers are traveling, doing a lot of back-to-back meetings at GDC or Gamescom in Cologne, or so checking the event season. Like for example, right now, next week in France, there's the big event, Gamecom. Then there's a Develop in Brighton. So depending on this timeline where we need to go, because it's not only sitting on our chairs and receiving emails, but the majority of games being signed, and not only at Focus, it's meeting people. and having them explaining your vision, etc. So since we cannot do like every week welcome everyone and do a call with everyone, these events are where we can actually meet the people and not only through a call, and have more available time to discuss, etc., than just piling up calls all year long. So context-wise, yeah, it can the event season, GDC, Gamescom, etc. can add just on the review and acknowledging thing. Oh, okay, we received your pitch deck; it's being reviewed, and so I would say for us, minimum would be 1 month just to get back saying no at this stage, and here's the reason why. Or oh, okay, could be interesting. Do we have a build eventually, or can we meet, or can we have a call, etc. So minimum 1 month, just this first sign of life, and then to getting to a deal sign. The bigger your publisher is, the more public, like publicly traded the publisher is, the longer it's going to take, because it's not only a personal shop or a team shop, etc. It has a lot of multiple stakeholders, so it can take uh, minimum 6 months. I would say minimum 6 months to actually get it, and 6 months can be pretty fast.
So I mean, that's what everybody's got to plan for. If you're going to run out of money in 3 months, you're you're in trouble because it's going to take that long to get out to you. All right, so Hallucination Studios has a question that actually was going to parlay right into my next question.
Yeah,
In
sure.
another conference, you said that you've never signed any game studio that contacted you via email. How do you recommend to reach out to publishers? Because I was going to ask you how important conferences are. If it's more important, is there's more weight on that than an email? So there you go. Perfect timing. Mhm.
Yeah, the one thing is that it's not a race, it's more a marathon. For example, and I'm touching wood right now because I'm on the last line of signing a game. Hopefully this week, like signing meaning the contract is signed. We already said yes, we want to sign. We already agreed on the deal term, etc. But hopefully signature are gonna be drafted on both ends this week. This game, the first time we ever spoke was November 2020.
Damn.
So to give you a bit of time, at the time their game was very different. The studio setup was very different. I changed company in the meantime. The game they presented changed a lot. They only had a pitch deck. Then, given the ambition of the game, they needed to have etc. So answering the question about email, it takes time. The good thing is that it's not because at the time I said, I'm not convinced by your pitch deck. Then they came back with a very much more convincing pitch deck, which had focus and said, oh, that's really cool. Do you have a build? And then it took time. Then they have a build that wasn't really convincing, etc. Then something happened in Ukraine, so they were impacted, etc. Uh, then they found a publisher that wanted to fund part of the game. The publisher collapsed, so it took a lot of time. I think that's probably one of the longest signature being
So
on my end.
if the if it's disadvantageous, that's a word. I might have just made up a word. For them to just submit through the form on the site or through the email, does that make the in-person meetings at conferences that more important?
Yeah.
Or so try to get to something nearby, because I mean one of the big things that we always see is it costs so much to get to GDC, and now with everything, I mean California and LA is in crisis mode, and we've got the majority of the world that doesn't want to come to
Yeah.
the US in general right now.
But the good thing is that you have video games event almost in every country in the world. So you probably have a video game event nearby, except if you live in Vanuatu or on Tonga, on Malawi, but like in South Africa, you have a great event. In Morocco, you have a great event in 2 weeks. In Peru, you have a video game event. In Argentina, in Brazil, in Colombia, in every European except Vaticano, I think, European country, you have a video game event. Sometimes several ones. Like in France, we have at least 5 within a year. So yes, try to, and it's part of a publisher's job to go there as well. First, because it's cheaper, and you also have less competition.
I see.
GDC is crazy, Gamescom is crazy, and it's not. Well, I love Gamescom, so, but it's not where you can create the most ties and discuss and having also this kind of informal chat out of the 30 minutes meeting, etc. So that's where ties are created, etc. And sometimes, yeah, the game you're pitching is not really for focus, and it's fine. But we created bonds during an event, and maybe for your next game, you're gonna know better what we're looking for. We're gonna know better what you're capable of. We already would have like mingled and getting to know each other. Maybe a second game or third game, etc. So the cold email when no one knows each other with just unless your pitch deck is really impressive, and then I, I'm gonna want to know you and then have a call and maybe meet at an event. But just cold email expecting direct signature on that, we never done it.
All right, so the last question, then I'll let you go because I'm sure you have another lovely restaurant to go to. If you want to just get sick to your stomach, follow Yves on Instagram and see all the beautiful places that he goes and all the wonderful food that he finds at the Michelin restaurants. Um, so Lantana Games asked,
Not only it's related to video games, it's not only Michelin restaurants. Sometimes you find great food in extremely small places. Like I was in Romania last week, and like in far of Bukovina, there was like an old farm with an old lady making very traditional countryside Romanian dish, and
how did you find that?
that's being you find great games, so you can find great places to eat. That's the same expertise.
That's called doing your due diligence
Yeah.
before the trip. Uh, so, how often do you find yourself going to casual demo nights and ending up in contract discussions with them?
Sometimes it's not even me going. At when I was at Ubisoft, there was a game that was signed because one of my best friends at Ubisoft at the time left and was at another studio in another town, and she had drinks with the studio in a bar in Bordeaux, and she's not in publishing, she's in production, etc. And she called me and said, "Oh, last night at a bar, I met these incredible studios, etc." So I wasn't even attending demo night and bar to have someone pitching me their game on one of my friends, etc. But there is not much demo night in France or in Europe in general, but I try to go to, yeah, I go to develop, I go to Nordic Games, try to go, or someone from my team, to Digital Dragons, to Big in Bilbao, to a lot of events. So that's we generally don't discuss contract, but we discuss deal terms. And I saw one of the question of, I'm not sure I understood his focus kind of on the conservative side of the publishing spectrum. I'm not sure what it means, but trying to time both questions, at least also one of the things that will help on the swiftness of the discussion is if you have strong red flags. I absolutely want to keep the IP. I absolutely don't want any kind of recoup. Uh, Whatever, I don't want first look last match. Whatever you don't want, what are the red flags from your end in terms of deal terms? Discuss this quickly on the. Of course, not everyone. That should be a balanced deal, but not everyone should get 100%. So as a publisher, of course, if I get it, I'm going to be happy, but I shouldn't get every deal time on my favor. But the same goes for you. You shouldn't get every deal time in your favor, because if that's the case, then you're going to have a hard time finding a publisher. But getting that rid of what can be negotiated in good faith from both ends, and very often there is a totem, a taboo thing, is a lot of IP is everything. Well, if you haven't released the game, your IP, I'm sorry to say, is worth nothing. The IP is only worth when the game is successful. So that's kind of like the chicken in the game. So sometimes crumbling, getting so attached to an IP is not necessarily the solution. Could be on the recoup, on the first look last match, on the investment, on a lot of different things. But getting that rid early on in the discussion, when you start discussing, when you start seeing that there is interest from the publisher, at least on your game, that's going to gain a lot of time. So not directly contract discussion, but at least getting rid of what everyone is expecting, so that the discussion and the relationship starts from a balance and an equal ground perspective early on.
Yves, thank you so much. So sorry it took you so long to get on the show. But we'll have you back now that you're an extreme veteran and you have the wonderful guest of the show tag on the Discord now. Is there anything that you want to plug or promote before we go?
Me?
Yes.
Memories in Orbit, the game. It's early drawings from behind me, but Memories in Orbit, Mio, from incredible Dude DDM team. There's a demo playable on Steam right now, so you can play the demo. You can wishlist the game. Wishlists are extremely important, not only for Mio and Focus, etc., but having wishlists helps the algorithm putting your game more in front of more players, etc. So it's like a virtuous circle. So getting wishlist is one of the focus that you should have as well as developers. But wishlist, Mio, and play the demo. Would be interested to know if you like it.
All right, we posted it in chat. Everybody wishlist it. Smash
Check it
that
out.
subscribe button. All right, Dan, we got a good early afternoon today. We ran 2 hours early, and now we have the whole day ahead of us.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Play your Switch 2?
No, I get catch up.
The
only thing I'm playing on Switch 2 is Mario Kart, and my son's actually not here today. He and my wife went down the mountain, so I don't have anybody to crush. And I'm not going online because then I will get crushed. So yeah, probably catching up and relaxing.
Awesome. Thank you, Yves, for coming on here. And everyone, if you're not in the Discord, discord.gg/IndieGameBusiness. Also, you can see everything that's going on with Indie Game Business at IndieGameBusiness.com. And our next conference is in September. Are we telling information about that now, or are we just saying that it's September?
We have a theme and everything now.
Yeah, the theme is marketing and what else is it, Jay? It's marketing.
Funding. No, marketing was the last one.
Marketing, funding
your game and running an indie studio.
Funding your game, running an indie studio. Yes, that will be amazing. So thank you so much. This podcast will be up here pretty soon in the next probably 15 minutes. So you can also listen to it if you don't want to look at us. That's totally fine. All right. Have a blessed day, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.